Mhm. Right, let me just see. Right, nothing is happening. So why am I not data mode nuclear life? Nice. Good. All right. Testing out. Nice. Great, great, great. Yay. Just make sure that I'm set up. Okay. All right. So for anyone who comes on, I'm been watching over this video early. I'm just doing some technical checks just to make sure that we are on and we are live and we are good and you can see me. Right. And good. Checking audio. Sorry about that. We're going to start in a few minutes at 7 p.m. Nice. Nice. So we will be starting in 3 minutes. How are you guys going? Hi, Kish. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining on. So let me just make sure. Are you hearing any feedback? Let me know if you're hearing any feedback. Good. Thanks for that feedback. Or if you're hearing any echoes or anything like that. I just want to make sure that, yeah. So we're going to start in 2 minutes, just counting down. For those who know me from on Facebook and on LinkedIn, come on a little bit early just to make sure that we set up right. And we'd start promptly at the top of the hour. So who else is here? No feedback, no echo. Great, great, great. Lovely. Appreciate that feedback. It helps me to know what's happening. I had to switch because last time I did a live, the program that I used gave me a lot of challenges. So I'm switching now to this program, well, through Zoom, and then the video would remain on our YouTube channel. So you could always go back and take a look at it. So just 1 minute again, and we're going to jump into leadership truths. And I love, love, love doing this live. I love doing these 3 days. I did it sometime, I think it was in June or the start of July this year. And there are some conversations we need to have, we need to be having. We don't have enough of these candid conversations. And unfortunately, as people, we then subjected to poor leadership. And persons who are not in leadership or who are subjected to certain types of leadership have to suffer and look sometimes at the challenges that are happening without any recourse, without being able to even speak with your leader and say, hey, this is what is happening. Perhaps you can do it differently. So we want to talk about some of the things we don't usually talk about, but it's so critical for us to develop as people, as managers, as professionals. as persons in communities, NGOs, even the state sector. It is so, so critical. All right. So, guys, we're at the top of the hour, 7 p.m. in beautiful Trinidad and Tobago with the time zone Atlantic Standard Time. So we are going to get started. So welcome. Thank you so much for being on with us. And we're going to go through this 3-day live series, Leadership Truths, things that no one will dare to tell you as a leader. So share the live, let persons know that we are on. Let them know that we have gotten started so they can jump on. And I know it's on YouTube, different from our usual platform. So some persons probably may not hear about it until afterward. But again, the video will be here. If it is you're watching it later on, just hit hashtag replay in the chat. Let me know that you're watching the replay. That will give me a sense of who watched it live and who is watching the replay. However, let's jump in. So this series, Leadership Truths, is something that I started, especially ahead. We have the Increase Your Influence Challenge that is coming up soon. But I generally do this series specifically to talk about things we do not usually speak about as people, as professionals, as leaders in the workplace. And I often tell my clients, as leaders, the higher they go in the organization, is the less people will tell you the truth, or less people who are willing to brave telling you the truth. Many times you have the issue where persons feel that they need to surround themselves with what we call yes people who tell them yes all the time. Every idea they have raised, yes. No one is willing to say, hey, I think we can look at this differently, or this may not be the best approach. The higher up you go in an organization is the less people are willing to tell you where you're wrong, or the less people who's willing to brave, less people who are willing to brave telling you are wrong. And so I want to put some things on the table for us to consider. I want to put some things on the table for us to discuss, because we want to build ourselves as strong, influential leaders, more impactful leaders. So we're here today, Tuesday, the 18th of October. We're going to be here tomorrow, Wednesday, the 19th, and we'll be here on Thursday, the 20th, all at 7 p.m. right here on YouTube. So for persons who may have missed it, you come back again tomorrow. And on Thursday, we're going to be doing another live with another topic. So I have seen, and it's something I say all the time, I have seen persons who occupy leadership positions. They occupy positions of executives or managers, teachers, coaches. Some of these persons don't even consider themselves leaders. Parents, heads of NGOs, religious leaders, politicians. The list is endless. Who are good managers but poor leaders? And the thing is, how do so many people who are poor leaders get these top-notch leadership positions? And I am certain that even those of us who are responsible for recruiting and selecting these persons, or even the population who may be listening to a politician, indicate all of their promises and what they intend to do, we don't know what to look for as a people in terms of strong leadership, great leadership, good leadership. And so we want to focus on that. In fact, just a sneak peek, I would have my book launching very, very soon. So later on this month or early in November, I would start posting when it is you can order. And it's called Just Lead, the powerful playbook on how good managers become great leaders. The powerful playbook, right? On how good managers become great leaders. So look out for that, because we need to start to talk about good leadership. It is not in management, and we're going to go deeper into that in a bit. So before I get into the meat of it, let me introduce myself. My name is Safia Johnson, and I'm a leadership strategist, and I'm also the CEO of Safia Group. All right, Safia Group is a multi-divisional agency that serves clients and to really help them go into their next big success move. And we do it in the area of accounting and financial management, human resource and people management and strategic planning, and now we've added on business development. But leadership is one of our cores, all right? And what we do with individuals, we help good managers become great leaders. And what we do with executive teams, we help good managers become great leaders so persons can really take their organizations to the next level. So for those who are on, and even when it is you're watching the replay, just put which country you're from. Let me know which country you're from. So I see Keisha, I know she's from Trini. All right. So if you're from the US, which state you're from or community you're from, let me know something about you. Thank you for even stopping by and just taking a peek at our videos. And this particular channel, we call it the Leaders Chat Room, because we talk about all things leadership. We need to start to have these candid discussions so we can really address what is happening around the globe, in our organizations, in our countries, in our communities, in our departments. All right. So put your questions, your comments in the chat. All right, put your comments or questions in the chat. We are going to jump right in. So, day one topic is, it's more than just theory. It's more than just theory. I cannot tell you the number of persons who I've met and worked with. When you raise the topic of leadership, they say, well, I have done leadership in school, or I have a postgrad certificate in leadership, or I might even have a PhD in organizational leadership. And the question then is, if it is you have these qualifications, be it a bachelor's, master's, or even a PhD in leadership, why then is there the struggle to be a great leader? Why then, if you poll the people that you lead, there are challenges? And if they were the ones to really rank and indicate if you're a good leader or not, the score wouldn't be as high as the grades you had when you were completing the course, because it is more than just theory. So theory to me, it's like the science. And I always said everything in life, including leadership, the science and the art to it. There's a science to leadership and there is an art to leadership. All right, the science and the art. And many people get stuck on the theory. They get stuck on the science. Now, science is observable, it's predictable. You can put it in a lab. In fact, that's how many times they come up with the theory. All right, you can experiment. You can, if you do this action, you get this effect, cause and effect. That is what science is. And because leadership rests on psychology and sociology, these things are predictable sciences. So leadership in and of itself, there is a science to leadership. There's a science, there's a way to lead people. And that is what we learn about when we do these academic programs. I mean, I have done my master's in leadership. As I said, bachelor's, master's, PhDs, these are the things that we learn. But when we get to the practice or the art of leadership, that is where the rubber hits the road. Now, the practice of leadership or the art of leadership or anything else for that matter, it's knowing what to do and how to do what to do and when to do what to do so that you can get the outcome you are looking for. All right. And what you find is that persons are in leadership positions and they do not move, they do not shift, they do not grow because they do not believe they need to. They do not believe they need to grow because they're the leaders. If anybody has to grow, it's their team. If anything goes wrong, it's easy to blame the team. But at the end of the day, we know within ourselves as leaders. I deal with clients all the time. I deal with leaders and executives all the time. You know when something is wrong. You know when you're not functioning at your optimal. You know when it is there are tensions in the team, when there are issues between you and your staff, you and your team, you and your senior, you know they exist, but sometimes you don't know what to do, even though you may have learned it in your course. You may know all the leadership theories, you may know all the studies, you may know all the research, but what is the practice? What is the art? What do you do in that moment? What do you do when you have a team member who's been so difficult and you have a particular project to complete. What do you do when it is you're severely burnt out? What do you do? What do you do when you have unions coming against you, organized labor, and you have to get something, a new initiative done for your organization? How do you bring these parties together? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do when your staff is horrendously burnt out, on the verge of resigning, and based on all the demands that are coming down, they require more. There's a requirement for more. What do you do? The theories don't teach you that. The science, even though they speak about it, it's again in a very controlled environment. It's in a lab. Out in the real world, there is no lab. There is no controlled environment. People are unpredictable. So let me give you an example. So in Trinidad and Tobago, we have macaroni pie. Everybody who is in Trinidad and Tobago knows about macaroni pie. Now, in the US, I recognize they call it mac and cheese, right? Especially when they bake it. So your science is like your recipe. There is a way to get macaroni pie or mac and cheese, right? There's a way to do it. A certain amount of macaroni, you boil it for a certain amount of time, then you're able to take it off the stove, you mix it, you put in your cheese and your butter and whatever else. And people have different ways that they do it, but there is a recipe that you can follow to get a predictable result. All right? That's the recipe. That's the science. But the more you make the macaroni pie, the more you engage it, is the more you become independent of the recipe. It's the more you become you start to understand the ingredients, you start to understand the mechanics of cooking and what happens and what works best and the taste that you are going for. That's when you start to own now your macaroni pie. It's not just a recipe you pulled off of YouTube or off of Google. It's your recipe. It's your macaroni pie. And when it comes to leadership, we have to get to that signature point, the art of leadership. How do I lead? What are the things that I look for? What do I espouse as my own brand statement? As I heard one person say, what do I believe about people? What do I believe about leadership? What do I believe about my role? And the more you practice, the more you follow the science, the more you follow this recipe of leadership, is the more you become versed in the art of leadership. All right? Leaders stop at the science. And then what happens when they get into the workplace, they default to what they saw their previous managers do. They default to what it is they experienced when they were younger professionals. And those things do not always work. And I often use the example in families, right? Where something happened to us growing up and it wasn't the best experience. And then we come and we have children and we do the exact thing to our children that was done to us, even though we knew what was done to us should not have happened. And we pacify it by saying, well, I didn't die and I turned out fine, so they will be fine. We have the opportunity to take control and make a decision about the kind of parent we want to be, the kind of leader we want to be, the kind of teacher we want to be, the kind of manager we want to be. We are taking responsibility for that. And so you now want to become the leader that you desire to be. So let me just break down, and the more I talk on leadership these days, it's the more I am saying it so persons will get it. There is a distinct difference between management and leadership. And let's go back to the etymology of the words, the origin of these words. Where did they come from? Why were they created? What was the intent by using these words when they were first created? So manage came from an old Latin word, and forgive me if you heard it already, I'm just saying it again for those who may not have heard it. Manage came from an old Latin word that was designed to describe controlling horses, controlling animals, especially when they were unruly. So the word manage was designed to treat with animals and to control them. It did not contemplate the complex social and emotional structure that humans have. And even animals for that matter. That is why now when we evolve, we have animal rights. Because even the way we used to treat animals ignored their own being and their own sense of self to a certain extent. But be that as it may, management, as it came through the centuries, as the definition was distilled, we got planning, organizing, controlling. Those are the words used in the definition of management. So management in and of itself, as important as it is, will always be incapable and insufficient to handle the complexities of humanity. That is where leadership comes in. Now, when you look at the etymology for lead, the origin of the word, it's an old Latin word as well. And it means to guide someone to a place they have never been in their lives. All right? Taking them to a place that they would have never gotten to had they not encountered you. That is leadership. So leadership now describes people. It describes movement and growth and guidance and connection. All of these elements that are important to get someone from point A to point B. So I often tell my clients, manage the work, but lead the people. Manage the work, but lead the people. And we have people in leadership positions trying to manage people. In fact, those are the names of the positions. You're finance manager, IT manager, operations manager, marketing manager. We have become so heavy on management, but that is the very reason why we have so many issues in the workplace, because management in and of itself is incapable to treat with the issues of people. Only leadership can do that. So I'm not saying to abort or to abandon management. It is critical when you sit in these leadership positions to be both a manager and a leader. To be a manager alone will create significant issues that to you would seem insurmountable, or you're just going to write it off as people are just difficult, or people don't like to work, or people are just lazy, or people are just, and that's how you're going to write it off, because you're going to have consistent issues, but you're going to see a pattern of behavior of people working under you, and you will think it is because of the people, but really it is because of your style. All right, now let's talk about this even a little bit deeper. There are 3 levels of knowing. All right, 3 levels of knowing. And this is for anything, but I'm going to apply it to leadership. All right, but it's for anything in life. 3 levels of knowing. The first level is information or awareness. You have come to know something that you didn't know before. When I work with my clients, one of the things they talk about a lot is the sense of awareness. Wow, Safia, I did not know that, in a good and a bad way. I did not know that what I was doing created the issue for me. Or they may say, I didn't know that what I was doing was actually the right thing. I feel validated. Awareness is so powerful. Awareness is empowering. Just to know, just to be informed. And many leaders continue to do what they're doing because they just don't know any other way. All they know is what was done to them. All they know is what they saw. They don't even know there are other ways. Even if they go to school and learn it, it's still a place of awareness. It is just still a place of knowledge, and it's knowledge to regurgitate to pass an exam or to get a good grade or to do a fantastic thesis or dissertation. It is not knowledge from the standpoint of taking action and standing upon it and using it. So the first level of knowing is information awareness. And I would also say this, when I work with leaders again, and I work with leaders locally in Trinidad and Tobago, in the region, and in the US, it's the same. People are people. One of the biggest issues that leaders face is a lack of self-awareness. They just do not know who they are. They do not know what type of leader they are. They do not know how they come across. They do not know the impact they have on people. They do not know the impact they have on situations. They do not know their own value and what they bring to the table. If they walk into a room who people are getting, they do not know. So there's no way for you to improve, control, or do anything if you don't know. So let me just say this. If it is you don't know and you've never done a leadership assessment, go on our website, safiajohnson.com, and do our free leadership assessment. It's a good place to start. It doesn't cost you anything, but what you're going to get is awareness. You're going to get information, light bulbs that start to go off in your head. That's the first level of knowing. The second level of knowing is understanding. It's an intellectual grasp. So it's more than just awareness. It's like, oh, you have an aha moment. I get this. I understand this. I get what you are saying. Clarity comes in the mind. It's not just information that is just piled up in the head, taking up, valuable mental real estate, right? It's actual understanding. The wheels now start turning. You start to see things differently. You hear things differently. You hear it now through the eyes of understanding. Things make sense from a different perspective. You start to kind of get clarity on why things happen the way they do, why this occurred, why that person responded like that, why this is happening in an organization, the why questions become clearer, at least the answers to them. It's understanding. It's a higher level of knowing. It goes just beyond information and awareness. It's a deeper grasp. It's an intellectual grasp of the thing. So we put it in the context of leadership. Understanding now, it's when after you become aware, you start now to use that awareness to bring clarity to how you see something, how you plan, how you communicate. You start to see when the CEO says something, why the impact is X, Y, or Z. You start to see now when a particular staff member does something, why the result is A, B, or C. It starts to make sense to you. It goes beyond just hearing it. It goes just beyond a paper you would have read. It goes deeper than that. You are grasping it now. Clarity sets in. But that's just the second level. The third level, which is the highest level, and there's even a level, I can even go a fourth level, and we will talk about that because I said there's 3 levels of knowing. But the third level is the wisdom part, which is knowing how to apply what you understand. All right, to get a particular outcome. Because you can understand, but then now it's the application stage. You know it sufficiently to put it into practice. And that is the stage we need to get to at the very least. We can't just do a postgrad certificate in leadership and think, hey, I know leadership. I don't need to be trained. I don't need X, Y, and Z. Listen, it's a trap. It's a trap. All right, you have to go beyond just knowing and just beyond awareness, just beyond information. You have to go beyond understanding it. You have to get to the third level of being able to apply it, of being able to put it into practice, being able to take that knowledge that you're not just aware of, but now that you understand and cause it to work for you, cause you now to get a particular outcome. You can see from the start what you are trying to accomplish and then put the necessary plans in place. And because you understand, you're now exercising that understanding in application to get the result you're looking for. So hope you're following me. All right, that's wisdom. That is applied knowledge now. That is the base level we ought to be at as leaders, the base level. The base level. We should not be in leadership if it is we don't know how to apply the tenets of leadership. If we don't even understand what leadership is, and leadership is not management. That if we don't understand the range of our impact, the long-lasting effect of our impact, we really should not be in leadership if we don't understand and know how to apply these things. And I know that's heavy, but that's why I said it's leadership truths. These are things we need to be saying. It's not good to just have a good message or that you're charismatic, or that you can talk very loudly or that you're bold, or it's more than just that. You don't have to be showy to be a fantastic or a great leader. You don't have to have all of those elements, but you need to understand what leadership is and be able to put that into practice to get the outcome you're looking for. So let me just touch on the last level, which I said there's 3 levels, but there's actually a 4th level. I'll just drop it in. The 4th level now goes beyond application and takes it into a place of teaching. and guiding and now leading others to that place, because it has to go beyond just awareness. It has to go beyond just understanding. It has to go beyond wisdom and knowing how to apply it. But you now must be able to sufficiently explain and guide somebody else to get the outcome that they're looking for. That's really the fourth level. All right. And that's when you get into the level of coaching and mentoring. And there I say, because I mean, we're talking about troops, right? So I'll just raise it. We have a lot of persons who call themselves coaches and consultants, but they have not yet even gotten to the third level of application. They have never even put into practice the things that they're seeking to tell you and to guide you on. It's so interesting to see. There are persons who are coaching in various spaces and they just don't know. They just don't have the breadth of knowledge and they're causing a lot more damage. And what they have done, they have really caused damage to the industry of coaching. So now when people see coach, people are like, I don't know if I want to be, coach is overused, and almost disrespected. All right, but a coach goes beyond that level of wisdom and application and can then guide another person. All right. So when it comes to leadership, you must at least be at that third level of knowledge. You must go into the application phase. And that's why it's more than just theory, which is the name for today. It's more than just theory. Just having understanding or just having knowledge will not cause you to solve the complex problems that will face you. Organizations need people who do not just have the theory. The theory is good and it is important. Don't get me wrong. It is good and it is important because it's very difficult to get to the art if you've never learned the science. It's very difficult to get to the practice if you've never really even learned the theory. So when I train clients, be it an individual client or if I'm training an executive team, we have to start with the science. We have to start with information and awareness, get up to understanding, and then I take them through the application phase. So you have to start at that point. But just to know, just to understand, it's not sufficient. The organizations that will outperform their competitors, the organizations that will have the impact in this time will be those who have leaders who know and understand and can apply, who are versed in the practice of leadership, who are actual excellent leaders. If they were to poll the people that they lead, which is really the real barometer, we cannot call ourselves good leaders if nobody else who we lead thinks so. Too many self-proclaimed leadership, it just doesn't make sense. The people who can testify or be a testament or testimonial or give evidence or proof that we are good leaders are the people who we lead. All right? And those leaders are the ones who will take their organizations forward. And my suggestion and recommendation to anybody watching who may be an organizational leader or in a place of influence in their organization, tell or convince or recommend or have a conversation about developing leadership. I've seen companies, and I can give you that quick example. All right, we're going to land the plane just now. This quick example, a client called me. They had some customer service issues and they were saying to me, Safia, we need to get some customer service training for our staff. And I said, well, what's the issue? Why do you think you need customer service training? And when they explained to me what the issue is, I said, may I have a chat with the CS manager, the customer service manager? And when I had a conversation with him, I recognized what the issue was. The issue was not the team. The team did not need training because you can train someone what to say, how to handle different situations, but to be emotionally engaged and invested in serving clients, to give clients an exceptional customer experience. It's not just telling persons what to say or how to treat with a situation. It is really getting people engaged in your organization at a level that the level of commitment and loyalty to see the organization to succeed is high. Training doesn't bring that to fruition. It is leadership. And when I spoke to the customer service manager, he was jaded. disengaged and given out such tension in the organization and in the department that his staff was just lackluster. Training would not have remedied that. So we did some work with the CS manager and got to the root of why he was that way. We were able to put some strategies in place, and that's why I'm a leadership strategist, not just a coach. We're trying to get a particular goal, and there are strategies to get specific goals. Wars are won through strategy. And when we put it in place, the manager perked up, the manager awoke out of his slumber, as it were, became engaged again. We had to treat with some issues that he had. And what happened, his staff started to follow suit. And these same persons who they thought need customer service training, and again, I'm not saying not to do customer service training, but I'm showing sometimes the things that we think the solution, sometimes the things that we think we need to get a particular solution is not it. And when the CEO saw the change in the staff, they couldn't believe it. The issue was a leadership issue. And so we keep patching these sores and putting plasters on sores when we ought to be treating with the elephant in the room, and it's a huge elephant, leadership, where leaders are dropping the ball. So let me just jump in very quickly to how to move from just theory into practice. Just some key things, 4 key things, how to move from theory into practice, all right? So you understand, you have your bachelor's, master's, PhD, you know the thing, all right? You have an awareness of it. You graduated with honors, a distinction, but yet you go to work every day frustrated, not knowing how to engage your people and motivate them. So 1, acknowledgement. You need to acknowledge that what you have right now is not sufficient. I think that's the first place to start. A lot of people do not, unfortunately, come to terms with the fact that you need to go beyond where you are. You need to grow as the leader. In fact, a chapter in my book coming out just now, Just Lead, the Powerful Playbook on How Good Managers Become Great Leader, is the greatest work must be on the leader himself, all right? That's where the greatest work is done. You have to acknowledge, I have to acknowledge that I need to do better. You cannot be in denial. You cannot shrug it off or throw it off. You cannot be too embarrassed to recognize that you need help. As I said earlier, the higher up you go in leadership is the less people will be truthful with you. And so you may be thinking that you're doing well when really you're not. All right. And even if you recognize things are not going well, it's easy to say, well, it's my team's issue. It's not mine. It's my team's issue. It's not mine. You want to acknowledge. Acknowledge that where I am, I cannot stay here. I need to do better because there is so much better in me. There's so much more potential. There's so much greatness. Don't shut it down. And don't think you're doing it for your organization or you're doing it for somebody else. You are doing it for you because you're a leader and you want to be the best leader that you can be. The second thing is seek the right help. After you've not acknowledged that you need to do differently, you need to grow, you need to seek the right help. And seeking the right help is so critical. Because if you knew what to do, then you would have done it. The fact that you are experiencing these situations and the challenges that you are means that there is some piece of knowledge that you're missing. All right. And it's okay. That's the entire journey of life. It's fine. Nothing is wrong with you. You know, it doesn't mean that you are awful. All right. Finding the right help is so important, whether it's a coach, some mentor, whether it's somebody you know personally who is at arm's length reach, whether it's somebody you have to hire and pay money to. And let me just say, paying money to somebody I've recognized, it's also very important because sometimes you think I could just hook up with somebody and I can just, hold on to their coattails. But the thing is, while you're going to find people in your life who would be very much willing to pour into you, you don't always find that. You do not always find that because persons are also busy. So sometimes you have to pay to kind of get the investment that you're looking for. Find the right coach, not just because somebody says that they're a leadership coach or they can do it means that they can. You want to be able to see the results in their lives already, so that you will know that they at least have the application down, right? You don't want anybody trying to lead you or to coach you, to mentor you, who have not walked the road that you are now on. All right. So acknowledgement, seek the right help. The third one is follow your mentor's advice. After you've found the right help, follow their advice. It makes no sense hooking up with somebody to lead you and then you do not take their advice. You have to trust the person that you're going to follow. If it is you do not trust the person, then that's not the right person. The right person will be someone you can trust. All right. Now, I would say this, when you're following a mentor, sometimes their advice will be counterintuitive. Now, the reason why it's counterintuitive is, again, because you don't know. It's not intuitive to you. If it was intuitive to you, you would have done it. But the fact that it's counterintuitive, it means that you keep banging your head against the wall. You keep going around in circles and making the same mistake over and over again. So what the person may be giving to you is something different, to pattern interrupt, so that you can get to the place that you need to get to. All right. So follow your mentor's advice. Make sure you trust them, even when it's counterintuitive. And I heard one person said, especially when it's counterintuitive, follow your mentor's advice. All right. And lastly, be consistent. You're going to go through the process of unlearning and relearning, even unlearning some of the things you would have learned in your theory. Because again, these theories, and I'm speaking from a place of having the experience also, because I've studied it, I've done the research and all of that as well. It's a controlled environment. It's labs, almost, real life labs. The real world organizations do not work like that. It's not that predictable. And so some of the things that you may even learn in the theory, you have to unlearn, because it just does not work when you come out of the lab environment, when you come out of the experiment environment. Yeah? So you want to be consistent. The saying, practice makes perfect, but practice makes permanent. So you would have been practicing leadership all along. You just didn't know. It was a default. It's somebody's pattern. It's somebody's rule book that you're playing out of, and you didn't even realize. So now you have to pattern interrupt yourself and then be consistent with the new pattern that may appear counterintuitive at first, but just be consistent. And after a while, it will become crystal clear, second nature, and your new default. So it takes time. Be consistent. So acknowledge that you need to move from where you are. All right. Seek the right help, someone who you trust. Follow your mentor's advice, even when it's counterintuitive, and be consistent. Be consistent, and then you're going to be able to shift from the theory into the practice. Yeah. All right, guys. So we're looking to wind down. I know we just have a few persons on. And again, if it is you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay for those who might watch it afterward. Even if you have a question afterward, anyone has a question now or a comment, please put it in the chat. I will answer. And and be truthful, be open about some of the issues that we experience, that we see, that we witness, so that we can get the solutions to solve them. And if you're watching it in replay and you have a question, put it in the chat. I will be notified and I will hop on and answer the question for you. So even though it's after the live, still feel free, put your questions or comments in the chat. So we have our Increase Your Influence Challenge coming up next week. All right, and from next week, Monday, and it's for just 1 hour, 5 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And our challenge is an action place, right? It's where we put the things into practice. So we go from information, understanding, application in 1 week. All right. And we had some fantastic testimonials from the last time we ran the challenge. This one lady, at the start of the challenge, the Monday, she was asked to lead a particular organization, and she said, no, I don't want to do that. That's not for me. And by the Friday, she was saying to me, Safia, I called back and I told him, yes, I would lead, because in 5 days, taking the action, doing the challenges that we put just in 1 hour for 5 days, she was able to build her influence, build her confidence to be able to take up the leadership mantle. So if at all you're interested in being part of that challenge next week, I will put the link in the chat, and it will also be in the body of the video. So, or you can visit our website, safiajohnson.com, and you will get everything there. Now, tomorrow's topic is, am I a toxic leader? Am I a toxic leader? And that's a big, big one. That's a heavy one. Because we can all, when I talk about toxic leadership, there are always people who can think about someone who is toxic. All right? They know someone who is toxic. They can think about whether it's their own leader, unfortunately, or whether it is somebody else in their organization or outside of their organization. But the question still is, am I a toxic leader? And let's talk about it. And toxic leadership is not just what we think it is. It shows up in many, many different ways. It's not just somebody shouting. It's not just somebody screaming. It is bigger than that. And so we want to delve into that. I was once a toxic leader. All right. And that's why I can talk about it. All right. And I would have moved from being toxic into being a leader that is non-toxic, a leader that is very much open, approachable, engaging. I would like to think I must pull my staff and ask them their feedback on me. But guys, listen, leadership truths. So let your people know that we are on day one, landing the plane now. Go back, listen to it, send it out to persons who need to hear this. All right, and let's come back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Thank you for those who joined on. I know some persons popped on and off. Thank you for those who stayed all the way through. Really, really appreciate that and appreciate you and appreciate all your support. So keep looking out. We have some fantastic things coming up with the challenge next week, the leadership book coming up. We even have some leadership journals coming up. Yeah, look out for it. And our 2023 calendar, look out for it. It's going to be launching very soon, within the next couple of weeks. So get ready for all of those things. So guys, I am wishing you a fantastic night, rest of the night, a fantastic rest of your day. And again, any questions, let me know. We'll be happy to answer them and really give you the guidance. So, signing out. See you next time, tomorrow, that is, at 7 p.m. All right. Good night. Thank you.